Hello and welcome back to Sprite Guard Plays HyperRogue. It is a week later as I record this. I was pretty ill when I was recording the last two parts of this episode, and I especially thought the last part was a little bit odd and not that great, and so now I'm heading back into it. I actually remembered that we have not done everything that we need to do just yet. We still need to visit, I think, the vineyard, and in order to do that, I think it will be wise to visit the temple as well. Now, as I'm recording this, I am using my brand new pop filter, and so I'm leaning into the mic a little bit more, so hopefully the sound quality will be better. I don't yet know exactly how that's going to play out, but the hope is that that will actually improve the sound quality. I'm kind of in the very gradual process of improving my setup. I'm planning on moving at some point in the future. It's been a really kind of a tangled mess trying to get this apartment secured, but oh dear. Okay, I'm actually going to just drop into that orb of safety. That's the easiest way of getting away from the rock snakes. The other thing that we actually need, and I'm glad that this is here to remind me, is we do need to go into the Cicadas. So I'm going to do that, and hopefully we don't... Oh my goodness. Eagle. We've got our birds following us. Looks like they all made it in, that's good. And now we're just going to be looking for some ice sapphires, and trying to avoid demon sharks. And hopefully our birds will actually take care of the demon sharks. Once we kind of move away from them, hopefully the birds will come in between us, and then as the demon sharks approach us, hopefully they will the birds will kill them. And it looks like that's what happened right there. So hopefully that will continue to work out. And I will try not to melt too many holes in the floor, because I am really not in a position where I want to create too many more hazards for myself. The game is going to be doing its best to try and kill me, and I don't want to give it any help. So here comes another demon shark. Let's see if we can get away from it. This Yeti is going to give us some trouble. But once again, our birds are in the right place. And so, hopefully, they will protect us. And there's another demon shark that I did not even see coming up. We only need one more sapphire, though, and now we're basically going to make a break for it and hope that, A, that our birds kill off these demon sharks, which they did, and B, that we can find an orb of winter sooner rather than later. That will give us the ability to travel a little bit more easily. I don't think we can actually freeze the surface of lakes, but we can travel kind of more freely and not worry about having to stop. We can actually stop and fight demon sharks if we have an orb of winter, which we cannot really do very effectively if we do not. And here's one right here, and so I'm going to pick that up, and so that makes us cold enough that we freeze the ground under us. And so we don't have to worry about the kind of the floor melting away, like we do have to worry about most of the time. So the next thing that we want to find is actually Relia, and we want to head into a temple to get the grimoires, so that we have more of an advantage going into the vineyard. The other option that we would have is going into the jungle. My concern is that the jungle is not really any safer than the temple, and it is the orb that it gives us is a little tiny bit less flexible. Now I believe we have 10 statues of Cthulhu, so we can just head straight into the temple. I think we're going to lose our birds at this point, because creating paths for them is going to be very difficult. So the basic rule that I'm going to be using is If we don't see any grimoires that are easy to grab, we're just going to head inward. And we should pass grimoires that are easy to pick up in deeper rings, and then we can pick up a group of them, and that will simplify things for us. And that way we can actually get a little bit of a head start on some of these tentacles, and get a little bit ahead of some of the cultists. Now, the cult leaders are going to be a little bit more dangerous. They can move the same speed that we do. And so we have to be a little bit more careful about how we deal with them. We can probably actually create a wall here that will keep us safe from those two tentacles. And here's a whole bunch of books we can basically pick up until we are full. And we need 2 more, so we have to go 2 layers deeper. And of course, fire cultists are going to be another thing. I believe fire cultists can actually prevent us from moving statues. So we do have to be a little bit wary of that and not put ourselves in positions where our only escape routes involve moving statues. So if we end up surrounded by statues on all sides, yeah, we can't move them when we're standing on fire, and so that's something that we have to be aware of. I believe we're in the 10th circle right now, so I actually just want to find a grimoire and start trying to make our escape. There we go, that is our 10th grimoire. We are now able to spawn Orbs of the Dragon. I have not yet actually had the opportunity to kill a fire cultist and steal its Orb of the Dragon, so that is something that we may want to try at some point. I mean, it's another one of those cute little things that doesn't actually have all that big of an effect on anything, but it is something that I have not done in this game that I would like to give a try. That would require, I believe, going into the Emerald Mine, and then we would get the Orb of Mind, and that would be the easiest way to kill a fire cultist, because at any point, if you are within 4 tiles of them, they will throw their fire, and they only have 1 charge. And so that is something that you have to be pretty well equipped to be able to do that. So here we are, we're at the edge of the temple, and now we just want to find our way to a crossroads. And it looks like the game is not going to be especially cooperative. So we're just going to have to explore. So let me think if there's anything that I didn't kind of go into this episode with a lot prepared to talk about, and now we're kind of in a situation where we're just traveling and not doing very much, and I'm kind of realizing that I'm caught a little bit empty-handed. And I'm trying to remember, because I started this off, I was thinking about I'm trying to move, and I'm trying to improve my audio setup. I don't actually know how the audio is with the new Pop Guard. I have not tested it at all, so I'm really hoping that this doesn't completely ruin the episode. It shouldn't. I mean, theoretically, I should have been using a Pop Guard the whole time, and I just have not been, but I'm a little bit worried that it might attenuate the sound if I lean back at all. So it's a little bit, I'm a little bit afraid and uncertain, and that's kind of, I do tend to have a little bit of recklessness in doing things. I will often kind of do things without a lot of testing and just try them out, and they usually go badly, and it's kind of the sort of thing that I keep thinking I will eventually learn not to do that, and I never have. So now that we're able to spawn the Orb of the Dragon, what we want to do is actually find a vineyard and just travel along the edge of it. So I'm trying to think if we have seen one yet. I believe that's a jungle. dry forest. We may have passed one and I just missed it. For some reason I went up to that Relia thinking it was a vineyard. I'm not exactly sure why. But that is just kind of something that happens. There's, you know, a lot of ways for me to not pay attention to this game. And I keep finding new ones and surprising myself, so it's, maybe we should make like a bingo game out of it and say, you know, oh, you know, how many different ways have I managed to not pay attention to what's going on around me? So now we're just kind of looking for an orb of the dragon, and we can't do very much until we actually get that. I'm gonna keep picking up dead orbs just because it's kind of a compulsion, but I don't actually think we need them for anything. We could go on a Yender quest, but that's a little bit risky for what we're trying to do. I mean, we're already trying to do something pretty challenging. And I'm thinking now, is picking up some birds actually going to help us right now? I think I'm just going to leave that, not worry about it. We don't need them yet. And so I think that worrying about them, kind of just thinking about whether or not we should have them, is going to be using up cycles kind of that I don't need to spend. And you can very easily say that premature optimization is the root of all evil. That's something that I keep running into in my programming, where I keep thinking so much about how to do things efficiently that I get very little done, and it's something that I'm gradually trying to unlearn. But it's very frustrating because sometimes I will figure out a very slow way of doing something, but I will know that it's slow, and I will think, well, there surely must be a more efficient way of doing that. So, orbs of the dragon are not really spawning with any kind of frequency, and I'm a little bit concerned because we could go into the vineyard. I mean, we could just be cheesing the vineyard this whole time while we're looking for it. But my experience with the vineyard has been kind of so... my history with it has been so poor that I'm kind of reluctant to even try and cheese it until I have the gear that I need, because I've just had so many things go wrong in the vineyard. Especially when you start getting vine beasts, it becomes very difficult to keep all of your options open and kind of keep aware of everything that you need to be aware of. And I'm kind of aware that I am not really at my sharpest today. I'm not, like, in a funk today, but I'm definitely aware that I'm not really completely on top of things. But we have this orb of teleport that I'm actually going to use to pick up some of these, and then know that we can get out with a shift and a click. There we go. And I have already forgotten which direction we were orbiting, but I believe it was this direction. We can, of course, hop over to a different vineyard to be absolutely sure that we are now traveling in a direction that we have never been in. And of course, having those dead orbs is actually going to be a good way of telling when we've not been somewhere. Now, I'm actually remembering now that we do need dead orbs, more than I thought we did when I said that we didn't really need them and it was just a compulsion. So I'm going to continue just picking them up, and I don't know how many we're going to need. I'm kind of now trying to remember what it is that we're doing, trying to remember all of the steps, and hopefully we will not make any mistakes along the way, or not make any unrecoverable mistakes. Boy, we're getting a lot of vine beasts. And I'm not, like, taking the time to kill them in places that are really going to help me out. But it seems like every door we go past, there's a vine beast. So let's see, if we kill that one there, and then we kill this guy, what's that? Orb of Life. not all that helpful. Oh, 2 vine spirits right there are going to prevent me from getting that wine. I'm okay with that. I don't need it. We have 6, and we need 10 in order to unlock the Orb of Ether. So we are going to be going for a while. And now I'm kind of, once again, having insecurity about thinking that I might have gotten turned around on myself. We've been blocking off so many doors with vine beasts that the fact that I'm not seeing any of those implies that we have not actually doubled back on ourselves. Well, I thought that one would be easy to get to, but we actually have a vine beast coming here, and this area is getting quite crowded. So I'm just going to move on. You know, I'm really going to take that to heart of the thing that I always say is there will always be more opportunities. There will always be more options. If an opportunity isn't ideal, don't take it. I am going to pick that up. I think that will help us out a little bit. Just because we're pulling a lot of heat, a lot more heat than I really expected. And so having a bird kind of flying around, well, it might actually not be able to get past that. Yeah, that's too bad. We have another bird that we can pick up here, though. And so that's just going to fly around, help us out. And that's really all there is to it. I'm really kind of surprised at this point. I have not seen an Orb of the Dragon. And I'm wondering if, like, there's something that I forgot. I keep, like, checking. We have 10 grimoires, so they should be spawning, but just not seeing them. So I'm thinking, you know, okay, could something have gone wrong? Could something have changed in the game that has changed the rules of how I get those? Have I seen some and just not, like, realized that I saw them? And can my bird actually find its way to me? Life is full of questions. Let's see. This one looks like we can get to it. The only risk is the bird getting killed in the doorway, which actually looks like it could be a serious risk, but I think it's worth trying. The bird can, of course, block me in, but it has to move on every turn, I think. And it looks like we're going to lose it because there's that rock snake is going to, yeah, cut us off. So now it actually, the rock snake can't actually follow us, though. So we will get away from it pretty easily. Now I'm just going to be looking around and trying to find... It looks like we may actually end up cheesing our way through the vineyard before we have a chance to cheese it properly. Because we actually only need 2 more wines. And so it's actually pretty likely that we will find those before we find an Orb of the Dragon, at the rate that we're going. And of course, now once again, having some anxiety that I may have doubled back on myself, but we have been leaving a pretty thick trail of detritus, and so it's actually not that likely that we will go very far in the wrong direction. And I think my memory of what direction we're going in is better than I trust. I think that there have been instances or even just stories I've been told that have led me to not completely trust myself. And I think that I'm actually more trustworthy in a lot of cases than I think I am. And I think that I don't give myself credit, and so I end up worrying about things that really I shouldn't worry about, or I have no reason to worry about, which is pretty consistent with kind of my ordinary day-to-day life. I am very much a worrier. I have kind of anxiety problems, and it actually can really severely impact my ability to do things. And so when I think about it in terms of like just worrying about whether or not I'm going the right direction in this game, it's like that's a very small thing. It's too bad we don't actually have a way to get into this cell. We could so easily get to that wine if we had one of several different orbs available to us, and I'm just not seeing any of the ones that we would need. And we can kind of check back this way and see if... yeah, all I see is a dead orb. You can kind of check out in this direction, get a pretty big view, and just not seeing any orbs at all except for the mirrors, which are not all that useful to us, but maybe we can get into one of these. It looks like we have a couple of easy inroads here. There we go, there's that. And assuming all goes well, we should be able to... here's a Vine Beast. We actually have another one coming that's going to come through this door over here, and so I actually want to be proactive. So there's me actually remembering to be proactive about combat, which is something that I often neglect to do. So there's our 10th, whatever those are, wines, yes. Okay, I remember. So, Orbs of Ether should spawn now. And I believe that is the last thing that we need before we head into the minefield. And I just want to check that we have our 10 Bomber Bird eggs, and so I'm going to wrap up this part of the episode here. I'm going to drop into an Orb of Safety. In the next part, we are going to start on the most complicated and confusing part of our journey. We're going to be passing the point of no return pretty soon, where we will not be able to use Orbs of Safety. That is all coming up in the next part of this episode. So, until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.